Batter up. The game you've been waiting for is here. Ohio State against Northwestern at Wrigley Field. It is Freaky Friday. It's time for bold predictions. Let's have some fun. That's Bill Landis and Jeremy Birmingham. I am Austin Ward, getting ready to hit the road to the Windy City. Should be an absolute blast for everyone involved. Getting down Wrigleyville, having a great time on Saturday early in the morning. What could be better than that? It's probably going to be better weather than the last time. So I know Berm's been tracking that all week, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, it's still looking about like 57, 58, mostly cloudy. Winds light, variable, 10 to 14 miles an hour. Should be a beautiful day for football. I'm excited for it. The closer we get to the game, the more I'm excited for the novelty of it. I'm sure by the middle part of the first quarter, I'll be like, football. But, I've been envisioning like taking a photo of the Wrigley Field marquee where it says, game today, Ohio. Like, I think that'll be cool. But it's once the whistle blows, it's just ball, man. It's just ball.
It's going to be different. I wonder how much it will be impacted by. I think the end zone walls are worse than what I imagined they were going to be. But apparently everybody is just thrilled with this setup, which is why Ohio State's not taking any additional steps to go check it out on Friday. And they're clearly not concerned about playing in this environment.
It's weird though, right? Like Nebraska's walls are pretty close in the end zone. Ohio State has that one corner or the two corners in the north side where it's a little bit close, but it just feels different. Maybe I'm scarred emotionally by watching Eric Davis run into the brick wall at Wrigley Field in 1987 and break his wrist and cost himself a chance to be the first 40-40 guy ever when he had 37 homers and 57 stolen bases with 6.5 weeks left in the season. And I think he would have done it. And then Jose freaking Canseco cheated the next year and was the first to ever do it. And I guess maybe I'm a little bit hold a little bit of resentment for that stupid brick wall.
Doesn't sound like you do.
I think he's totally fine with it.
Yeah. Glad I got that off my chest. I've been holding on to that for like 39 years now or something like that. And I'm not good at math, but it's been a while.
It's good. It's good to start off the pre-Wrigley bold predictions with a little baseball talk. So, Bill, get us back on track with some football, maybe.
Okay, I will. I think that it felt like in the second half, really, against Purdue, they started out with the intention of making sure Carnell Tate got his hands on the football. And there have been other times throughout the year where Ohio State has seemingly been pretty intentional about doing that as well. I think they continue that in this game. I have Carnell Tate, Chicago native, right?
Mm-hmm.
Chicago native, being Ohio State's leading receiver in this game. We're going to call it 7 receptions, 113 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Ooh, nice return for the Second City Saint.
I think that's CM Punk, isn't it?
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, well, Carnell Tate has his own cult of personality. I love it.
He does. I understand why he is always the third guy who's talked about when we talk about Ohio State's receivers, because Jeremiah Smith is a freak and Emeka Egbuka has a pretty large body of work that should have him being considered among the best receivers in college football. But like every time Carnell Tate gets a chance to do something, it's like, oh yeah, this guy's also awesome. So I think that gets put on display a little bit. I have had a hard time figuring out exactly what kind of game this is going to be for Ohio State, whether they might run it more, shorten it, get out of there kind of thing, or if they might try to. I don't think they have anything to iron out really, but maybe dial up the passing game a little bit with an eye toward Indiana and Michigan. So I'm a little in between on what exactly that might look like, but I will say that, the Colonel, Carnell Tate, is the guy who leads Ohio State in receiving.
Don't you just take what the defense gives you? I mean, Northwestern is like 100th in the country against the pass defensively.
Yeah.
So that's certainly their soft spot, which is why I think my first BP, everyone knows I'm a pretty big fan of Will Howard as a person, as a player. I've been reluctant to include him in the conversations we've had about Ohio State quarterbacks in the last few years because it's a 1-year rental. You don't want to like start mixing and matching, comparing his career or his opportunity or upside versus CJ Stroud or Justin Fields or Dwayne Haskins or any of that stuff. But I think on Saturday, this is a parlay BP.
Oh, wow.
William Howard will have more completions and more yards than CJ Stroud and Justin Fields each did combined against Northwestern in the last 2 times Ohio State played them. How about that?
Well, that's interesting because, when Bill's talking about getting Carnell involved and you're talking about Will Howard, Northwestern has been very content, whether that was Pat Fitzgerald or, well, I guess pretty much just Pat Fitzgerald, to sit back and play safeties 30 yards down the field and say, Ohio State, please just keep the ball and run it. Especially because they are not good against the pass in normal situations. I feel like they would safeguard against that. And sometimes Ohio State, and Ryan Day specifically, his quote unquote weakness against Northwestern has been being too slow to just say, you know what, we're going to run the ball. Maybe Chip Kelly won't have that problem.
Well, let me say it this way. Those other quarterbacks that I just mentioned, CJ Stroud and Justin Fields, were much more willing and wanting and trying to take the top off the defense. So if you're playing safeties 25, 30 yards back, it made a lot of sense. You don't do that against Will Howard because he eats in the intermediate passing game. Number 2, to surpass those 2 combined, he only needs to complete 23 passes for 191 yards because Justin Fields completed 12 passes against Northwestern in the 2020 Big Ten Championship game for 114 yards, and CJ Stroud completed 10 for 76 the last time in the Win Bowl. So it's a bold P, but it is. I am trying to pull one over on the powers that be here because it seems like a fairly average day for Will Howard. I think he's averaging 20 completions a game for 240 yards. It feels like a pretty safe bet that he's going to do that again against Northwestern, and especially if they try to eliminate the deep ball by just giving the middle of the field to Ohio State, because that's where Will wants to be.
For anybody who forgot how horrific the wind and conditions were at Northwestern 2 years ago, say CJ Stroud's stat line again, Berm. That is nuts for the BPS.
It was, it's funny because he obviously was still, I think, on the way to being probably considered the Heisman winner if Ohio State would have beaten Michigan that year. But the fact is he had a 76-yard passing day in November against Northwestern, and no one would have cared about it. It definitely was an interesting day. That is definitely the weirdest game I've ever covered or been on the field for. 10 of 26 for 76 yards for CJ Stroud in that game. 10 of 26 for 76 yards.
I will never forget standing on that field in utter silence before the game as Ohio State went through its warm-ups with no music playing. There's 15 people in the stadium, and Northwestern is nowhere to be found. They were just in their indoor facility, I think, going through their pregame warm-ups. And what they didn't come out till there was 25 minutes or something like that until kickoff. It was insane.
CJ Stroud ran for more yards than he threw for in that game. That is all you need to know about how wild that day was.
It was one of the stranger Ohio State games, I think, that any of us have ever attended, covered, or witnessed. That was a wild one. This one could be unique too. We'll see. Certainly the setting sets up for it. And Ernie Banks was absolutely right. They should play 2. And Ohio State's going to put Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins on the field together 10 times in this game.
That's a remarkable segue. Well done.
Yeah. Thanks. You're welcome. I'll be here all weekend. I think I'll go one step further because I believe that Chip Kelly will take what Northwestern gives him, which is going to be a lot of opportunities to run the football. And I think the Buckeyes are going to be more than happy to get out of that game and keep the clock running as much as possible. So Travion will score a rushing touchdown, Quinshon will score a rushing touchdown, and Will Howard will score a rushing touchdown. All 3 will be involved. And this doubleheader backfield with the threat of Will Howard on top of that as a rushing threat is going to be a real problem for Northwestern. And I don't know what the final rushing total is going to be, but I know that it's going to be effective enough to cap off multiple drives in the end zone.
Do you guys think that any of Ohio State's skill players will play without gloves as an homage to Cubs legend Moises Alou?
I hope so.
Definitely.
Old Moist.
Why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
The moistest of the Alous.
Well, he is.
I mean, that's without question.
Famously. I think you are probably right that it will be more of a run game for Ohio State. Which will make my next bold P make no sense. because I think that Travion
Or your
Henderson, or my first, Travion Henderson, who has not had a receiving touchdown since the 2022 Maryland game, will have 2 of them in this game. I think this is me trying to combine my stock purchase earlier in the week of them throwing the ball more to Travion with a bold P, so I can double dip.
Speak it into existence.
Speaking into existence just means it probably won't happen at all. But I don't know. I just sense a lot of excitement from like Will Howard and Chip Kelly and Ryan Day talking about Travion getting involved as a pass catcher the way he did against Purdue. That even if it's not something that becomes more part of the plan moving forward throughout the season, maybe they can get back to it in this game when they are, prohibitive favorites and the opponent is rather overmatched. So I think they'll run it down to like the 5 and then they'll throw it into the end zone with Travion a couple of times. Maybe you hit him with a Texas route. Maybe you hit him with a wheel route. Maybe it's a screen play of some kind. We haven't really seen a slow screen, I don't think, from Ohio State this year to a running back. But
we've seen slow screens. just the receivers.
Just the receivers. Give me 2 receiving touchdowns for Travion.
It's been 15 years since Ohio State had 3 shutouts in a season defensively. That was 2009 when they shut out Toledo, Illinois, and I think it was New Mexico State or something like that in November. They're on the verge. Northwestern has, I think, the 119th ranked scoring offense in the country. They're pretty bad on offense. They don't throw the ball well. They don't run the ball well. They don't block particularly well, and they like to turn the ball over. So it's like a pretty good combination of things if you're looking for chaos for the Ohio State defense. I do understand that there's at least a real opportunity that the second team, third string defense might be in this game a lot, third quarter, fourth quarter. And so that does make me feel a little less confident about a shutout going all the way because you need some help. You need a team to miss a 21-yard field goal like Purdue did last weekend. But I think Ohio State gets it this weekend. Anyway, I think the defense is obviously playing with a ton of confidence. You're seeing a lot of rotation. We expect to see Tyleik Williams back. At least that's what Ohio State is saying. So you should see maybe the defense come out with some real juice and some energy and establishing itself early and being the tone setter for the game. And I just don't think Northwestern will have the ability to move the ball particularly well against Ohio State. This is not a team like Purdue where you knew, even though Purdue was going to struggle to do a lot, you knew that Devin Maccabee's a good player. You had a experience with him, like what he's done against Ohio State in the past. This is not that way for Northwestern. This is a pretty bad offense, and I don't think it will find the scoreboard at all. I've changed my score from the earlier in the week, which was 45-6. I think it's 45-0 now. Again, back-to-back weeks.
Back-to-back 45-0 wins.
Wow.
Yeah.
Picking that score and sticking with it. Even Hudson Card, to your point, Burmas, because like a touted recruit at quarterback coming out of high school, like he didn't play amazingly, but Northwestern, like they have none of that on offense. They're completely devoid of talent. And I think, if
no offense,
just an observation about your team there, Mr. Braun. Those are my thoughts. And I think that the record and the statistics bear that out. And if Jim Knowles is going to continue to dip into that bag of tricks and keep them off balance with some change ups and curveballs, and then unleashing a fastball with Cody Simon coming at him as a blitz, like it's going to be a rough one for him. I think Cody Simon is going to have 2 sacks in this game, and I think Mitchell Melton will match him. And between the two of those guys, with going between some more traditional blitzes and then the jack look, which I think we're going to see for more than 4 or 5 plays against Northwestern. They were really close. And if you missed Zach Boren's Buckeye Q breakdown of that, like you could see where the potential was with that scheme. They just, they missed a couple tackles that I don't think would be duplicated. One, Caleb Downs and Cody Simon both came up short on a play. Like that's not going to ever happen again. Mitchell Melton, Bill mentioned this earlier in the year, some conversations he had with him and like the basketball moves and the unique pass rush, moving him from the left side to the right side, inside, outside, and shooting him into different gaps. Like I think there's a ton of untapped potential there. And I think they're going to continue to build on that this week.
1, 2, 3.
All right, 2 bold predictions down. You know what time it is on a Freaky Friday. It is Liberty Ward. She is the Future Fan Sports guest predictor, and she crushed it last week. She got the Emeka Ibuka touchdown. She got a Will Howard touchdown, and she was there to see it all in the horseshoe. What'd you think?
I think it was a great game. Big win for the program.
Big win for the program indeed. What did you think? You went with your mother, and she said that you were asking a lot more questions, and it feels like maybe that is because you've been learning a lot more about the rules of the game and how everything works, thanks to future fans.
Because, I mean, it kind of doesn't teach you, like, everything. Like, it teaches you the rules. And my bold prediction today is I think Jeremiah Smith is going to make 4 touchdowns.
What? 4 touchdowns?
I mean, you saw him, maybe you did, see him at the game. He was rocking it.
He was. He is really good. Best freshman wide receiver in the country. You're absolutely right. I'm glad you picked up on that. Means
I know. And also, like, how could I don't understand how a freshman could be that good.
I don't either, and I've been covering this game for a long time, so it's awesome that you were at the horseshoe and you picked up on that, Lib. Again, future fans, that's what helped get Lib more hooked on the game. It's a unique storybook-led activity box. It's been a blast learning about football and helping Liberty learn about it. It's $49.99 at futurefans.com/OSU, or you can grab them at Learning Express toy stores in UA, Worthington, and New Albany. Again, that's futurefans.com/OSU. So Liberty's saying big game for JJ Smith this weekend. All right. Back to you, Bill Landis.
I'm going to go to the defensive side for my final bold prediction. I think this is another game where Ohio State gets some younger guys in there earlier as part of the plan, not even waiting for the game to get out of hand, just kind of rolling guys through, keep them fresh for the stretch run that's coming up here. And I think we had the conversation earlier in the week that maybe that doesn't even actually apply to Jermaine Matthews, but I'm thinking he will play a lot in this game. And I think he's going to get an interception, and I think he'll have 3 pass breakups to go along with it. Northwestern's quarterback, Jack Lausch, has had a couple games where he's been pretty loose with the ball. It could be a situation where Northwestern just has no interest in trying to throw. They'll just run it and hope they can get a first down and drain some clock. But
no offense,
but like they have like some interesting receivers, I think, and Lausch, when he plays well, is like fairly athletic and like will run around and try to make some throws on the move and stuff. So I think they'll at least try to attack Ohio State a little bit, enough to put enough times putting the ball in the air for Jermaine Matthews to put together a nice little highlight package. So I don't know if I'm thinking shutout, just because shutting out back-to-back teams is really difficult. But I think it is another really impressive performance for the defense, and certainly a low-scoring effort out of Northwestern. But that effort from the defense will include Jermaine Matthews taking the ball away and knocking it away 3 other times.
Love it.
So, James Peoples, it's a James People day, in my opinion. I think you really there's obviously the desire to get out of this game fully healthy at every position, but I think at running back specifically, Ohio State's going to have an opportunity to get Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson done and over with their day early as they can. And I think James Peoples is going to double his season total of touchdowns and move from 2 to 4 with a pair of touchdowns for James. And I think we're going to see one of them. It's going to be like I don't know how it's going to play out, but there's going to be one of them that's going to be like an 8 to 12 yard run that's going to be like spectacular. And people are going to be like, holy crap, that's one of the best 8-yard runs I've ever seen. And that's going to happen this weekend.
Your bold prediction is James People is going to have an exciting 8-yard run.
An 8-yard touchdown run.
That's an all-time drill down.
How do you like that, sports fans?
Wait, are you predicting it so that on Snap Judgments on Saturday you can say, wow, that was the most exciting 8-yard run I've ever seen?
It's possible. I like to find some continuity in our shows. I like to intersperse storylines and threads. That's just the way I like it. And, in the house that Harry Carey built, I want to see someone go, holy cow, on Saturday.
Hey, Norm, if you were a hot dog, did you eat yourself?
Are they going to have like stadium dogs available for us? Because I mean, that might be the one thing about going to a baseball stadium that I could get behind, because Football stadium hot dogs, I don't know if people know this, but they're not good compared to baseball stadium dogs.
That's right.
What do you think causes the delineation between ballpark dogs and football stadium dogs, and why one is so good and one is so shitty? Pardon my language.
Whoa.
What do you think causes that breakdown in society?
The love and care they put into a hot dog at a baseball game. It's
America's
like part of the experience. Yeah, they go together. Yeah.
Berm, you know what life is all about reps. And baseball stadiums make them 81 times a year. They perfect the recipe. They know how to cook them. Football stadium, what? The Horseshoe's got 8 opportunities to make a dog every year.
Yeah, and I think they boil them.
You
know?
Someday, because it is difficult for you, especially in your hobbled state, to make it upstairs to the press box at halftime to see the world's most ghastly hot dogs that exist in the Ohio Stadium press box. Bill, what would you describe those? What's the
this is a family show, so I'm not going to describe what they actually look like.
Firm's already dropped profanity.
Yeah.
Do you remember when they used to give us city barbecue at halftime at the shoe, and it was like barbecue and mac and cheese, and those were the days.
Well, yes, but you can also move away from having that outside catering and still like cook a hot dog. And somehow when Ohio Stadium in the press box, I haven't had them in the concourse, so I don't know for sure. Like, I feel like they become paler after they're cooked. They're not a natural, there's no grill marks to be seen anywhere. So we know that they're and that's probably not a safe place to grill upstairs in the press box anyway. But I don't know how they're doing it, where it removes everything that makes them look like a hot dog and turns them into like what Casper the Ghost would be eating.
Yeah. I have an assignment for someone who's watching this. Next week, when Ohio State is back home against Indiana, Austin is going to videotape a hot dog upstairs. And I need someone to start sending in concourse dogs and what they look like so that we can compare and contrast. Okay. So if you're watching this and you're going to go to the Ohio State Indiana game, send Austin every photo you can take of a concourse hot dog at Ohio Stadium.
Boy, what could possibly go wrong with this assignment?
Yeah.
I believe in you, America.
Do you guys like a Chicago style dog?
Like with the long pickle on it and all that stuff?
On this, I think it's like celery seed and some other stuff and tomato.
I don't know if I've ever done that. I like the Italian beef, so
yeah, I'm not sure it's necessary, but I mean, whatever.
Yeah. Are you guys are staying in the hotel? It's like near the Buona Beef place, right?
Oh, you better believe.
Yeah, that place is awesome.
Well, that's where Friday night. That's Friday night dinner probably, as we're doing road breaks in the hotel and getting ready to watch Buckeye basketball on the SEC network. Although Wyoming football is on, so we may have a tussle.
Tonight is the border war, Berm. Show some respect.
I said Wyoming football's on.
I know. I don't think we get the SEC network.
I get it on the iPad, and you know that I have my go bag ready with all the HDMI cables necessary to turn any TV into my iPad. So, Ohio State versus Texas A&M. Ohio State looking for a sweep of SEC Texas schools this week.
It's the Texas State Championship.
That's right.
So it's important at Wrigley Field. You got to be able to hit a home run once in a while. And after all this conversation about the deep ball, I do think that Ohio State will dial up one opportunity for Will Howard to cut one loose. And again, I think it'll primarily be a run game for Ohio State, but you have Jeremiah Smith on your team. There's not a defense that you can design that can stop him or slow him down. I think there's going to be one drive that is exactly one play and covers 75 yards, and it will be a touchdown throw from Will Howard to Jeremiah Smith. So mark me down. I can't go quite as far as Liberty with her 4 touchdown projection. And I want to say I'm pretty amazed and impressed that she's gone to one football game and seen Jeremiah Smith in person. She's been in other football games, but she saw Jeremiah Smith once and was like, yeah, that person is going to score every time he touches the football. She's better at this than I am. And I know you are.
Talent evaluation is not that hard. Let's just call a spade a spade. When you see certain dudes on the field, you're like, okay, there's one. That's a real one. Jeremiah Smith has had that effect on people since he was 9.
Yeah. He's quite good. He's fun to watch. And I think that'll help shorten the day for both him and the Buckeyes. Get that one and all those rushing touchdowns. Because I do think we're trending towards something like 38-0 for Ohio State.
I had 35-7. I don't think it's a shellacking where Ohio State gets into the 50s.
It's not a day. Oh, sorry, also go ahead.
That's a Northwestern cover I was going to point out from Bill.
The line has moved. It was 30.5 or 31, and now it's 28.5, I think.
Okay.
You think is that because you believe people are viewing this as a game where Ohio State is going to try and get in and out quickly and not have to do a lot of things? Because I can't think of any reason it would move otherwise. It's the weather is not going to be an issue.
Yeah, I didn't think a lower possession game. Yeah, because Ohio State's going to move pretty methodically.
It was very methodical the last time they were in Chicago to play Northwestern. We'll see what it looks like tomorrow, Saturday, 11 a.m. Central Time in the Windy City, Ohio State at Northwestern. Can't wait. Last regular season road game. It has arrived in a hurry. Of course, there's still a ton of opportunities for Ohio State to hit the road in the postseason, but this has gone fast. And Berm and I will be driving as quickly as possible to get over to Chicago to get some road breaks going, brought to you by Card Collector 2. That'll be on the podcast later on Friday night. Bill, what else is left? How did the Saturday experience watch along a couple weekends go? What do you guys have planned this weekend?
The watch along went really well, to the point where I think we're trying to decide if we should do it again for OSU Indiana or OSU Michigan. We haven't made a decision on that yet, but that was fun. We had a good time doing it. So maybe not the last time you've seen that happen. I'll be home. I'll be at home in my office here watching as much ball as possible. Doug's going to Notre Dame. I think just to say hi to Marcus Freeman because he's a nice, handsome man. Because otherwise it's not a particularly interesting game. But yeah, we'll have the show on Saturday night like usual.
All right, full weekend of coverage coming your way. Ohio State looking for its 10th win of the season in the friendly confines at Wrigley Field. Thanks for following along with us on a Freaky Friday on the Podcast Daily for some bold predictions. That's Bill Landis and Jeremy Birmingham. I'm Austin Ward. We'll talk to you later.